First of all, let me start by asking for a minute of silence for the heroic people that were slaughtered in Kenya, and also the Somalians who were trying to travel across the Atlantic for a better life in Lampedusa. So if you would just join me for just a minute of silence for those people. Thank you very much. I wrote a 90-page speech, and our designated statesman, and elder, Dr. Walter Stewart, who is also my mentor, said to me, if you deliver that 60-page speech, I'm going to flunk you. So I'm not going to do that. I promise him I won't do that. But let me start this very, very honest and open conversation by really putting it into perspective. When you talk about practicing Pan-Africanism in the 21st century, for some people, it's a slogan, it's a term, but for those of us who came from somewhere and now call this our home, there are people, some of them I'm going to name today, who have really epitomized this practice. And let me honorably, honestly say that if you're talking people who have died, Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, Abdi Dubois, Padmore, Marcus Garvey, Patrice Lumumba, my father used to say, don't praise me when I'm dead, praise me when I'm alive. And this practical nuances of Pan-Africanism, one of the preeminent African Americans that I know, I trust, I've worked with, who has shown it in practice and indeed is none other than our constitutional lawyer, scholar, professor, you name it, the Honorable Ronald Daniels. Give him a big round of applause. When I ran for office, the first continental African in the history of New York State, for the second highest office, public advocate in New York City, he never gave more than $50 to any political candidate. He gave me the maximum. That is practical Pan-Africanism. And you know what he said to me when he was giving the money? He said, my brother, I am doing this because I believe that we need to advance the cause of Pan-Africanism in practice. Thank you, Dr. Daniels. And you know, Dr. Stewart is another icon. You know, we can't be talking this stuff when you're not bringing it home. As a young man, angry black African-American, first-generation African-American on Brooklyn streets, they were locking up, throwing immigrants into, because they didn't have a green card, they went to hospitals and they would send them back home. He was the chairman. He took me in. He said, I tell you how you would fight. He was the chairman telling me quietly how I could fight the system. We worked together. He took me under his wings. Today, he is the elder statesman for the 6th region, which I'm going to talk about. Let me go very quickly. The 6th region, which so-called African leaders got together to creating, I being one of the pioneer leaders who was called upon to form it, I hate to say, but we got to tell the truth, it's not a matter of law. It's not into law. So because the sixth region is not into law, we have no power. You can't elect. You can't vote. You could write papers, but those papers, somebody else will put it somewhere, and nothing is going to happen. So I hate to say this, but the truth is, the sixth region of the African diaspora is only something that they wish, but it's not happening. Second, there are so many consultative processes going on to get the diaspora involved in this process. 3 years ago, they came from Addis, they created a task team. We did a study, we submitted reports, and now they started another process. There was another consultation 2 weeks ago from people all over the world to talk about Africa 2063. Well, you know what some of the people said there? Say, you're talking 2063. What about Africa today? There's a good thing to plan. How do we get there? A majority of the people that attended those 2.5-day session gave a critical critique of Africa and how they see it. And the most important thing, everybody came out there to say, what is the role of the diaspora? Well, let me tell you today how we do it. If anybody in this room believes that the diaspora is going to be taken seriously by commissions, by reports, by getting plaques, by inviting people to fundraisers and all of that kind of stuff, well, 20 years from now, we'll be having the same discussion here and nothing is going to happen. And let me tell you what I think. No one is going to give you power. You have to take it. So the challenge that this organization faces, and I'm happy that IBW has already created the foundation for this, is you have to have people with credibility, people who are honest, people who are truthful to the core values that we all share. That when they sit at the table, they decide that this is what they are going to do, and they're going to do it on the basis of integrity, transparency, collaboration, and truthfulness. If we don't do that, people are going to think that you brought them to something and nothing, they don't see themselves into it. Now, let me take you also, practical diaspora. People, when we talk about the diaspora, people think we're only talking about people outside of Africa. African countries today, there are many people living their own countries of origin into other parts of Africa. Those discussions about those diaspora Africans who are fleeing their country due to various situations, that discussion is not here. They are the boots on the ground. We need to figure out a way of doing it. Here is one of them sent me a quote. He said, you diaspora Pan-Africanists that we on the ground look up to for our salvation and are by your benign neglect helping dictators and corrupt leaders pull the trigger that is slaughtering countless members of future leaders of the African continent that you often glorify but do nothing to save. Start doing some things that help us protect the Africa that you often talk about via Facebook, or now Twitter. The other person from Jamaica said to me, and I quote, "Use me. Don't confuse me. Don't disrespect me. And still use me to do the people's business." And I thank you.